Ed Tom Bell is the main character of No Country for Old Men. The film begins and ends with his character, and the title refers to him. At the beginning, he is narrating the story, as he says. "The crime you see now, it's hard to even take its measure." Then we see Chigger being arrested by the side of an empty road, seemingly being escorted out of the desert itself. This represents Ed Tom's lack of knowledge about where he comes from before the beginning of the story. Every time Chigger commits a crime, a few scenes later, either Ed Tom shows up at the crime scene or is told the details of it. Every time, Ed Tom takes one look around the crime scene and perfectly guesses what happened. He looks at the dirt, the bodies, the marks and stains, and then just lays out exactly what we saw happen earlier. He never gets one detail wrong. This is because Chigger's side of the story, as we see it, is not what actually happened. It's what Ed Tom thinks happened. The film is not an objective view of the story, it's a subjective one. So we can say that he doesn't know what Chigger looks like. That Chigger is Ed Tom's subjective version of the bad man. They never meet in the film, nor is Chigger ever photographed. Everything about Chigger, including that name, is deducted and imaginated by Ed Tom as he looks at these crime scenes. This is why the name Anton Chigger is so hard to place. What's the country of origin on that? That's why he looks so strange. Ed Tom is trying his best to merge of what he looks like with the carnage he leaves behind. There's a scene where Ed Tom Bell sits on the couch in Llewellyn's trailer and looks at himself in the reflection of the TV. A few scenes earlier, Chigger did the exact same thing, and the shots mirror each other perfectly. That's because he knows that Chigger sat on that couch and drank a glass of milk, but he doesn't know any more about him than that. So the view he gets of Chigger is the exact same view he has of himself in that same spot. And at the end, when Ed Tom returns to the motel and finds that the lock has been shot off, indicating that Chigger either is inside or was inside at some point, he draws his gun and moves to the door. Then we cut inside the motel room and see Chigger lingering in the shadows. When Ed Tom enters the room, we discover that it is empty and there is nowhere Chigger could have escaped to. He was imagining Chigger on the other side of the door. To Ed Tom, Anton Chigger represents evil, something he cannot understand. He can't wrap his mind around the apparent lack of reasoning behind who is killed and who is left alive. It seems almost random. And this is represented in his mind as a coin toss. It's the only way Ed Tom can make sense of these acts of evil. Chigger escaping the car crash alive and disappearing off into world again represents Ed Tom Bell's acceptance that evil does exist and that he cannot stop it. The shot of Chigger walking off crossfades to Ed Tom Bell staring out the window, lost in thought, clearly imagining that very moment in his mind. Then, he turns back to his wife and tells her about a dream of meeting his father out in the wild. He has accepted that the world has moved on without him, that you can't stop what's coming, and that the country he lives in is no country for old men.